Dear Dharma friends and all practitioners, today is the 15th of November 2025. It's a Saturday weekend. We share the experience and have questions and answer for our practice. This week, we will remind the requirement for doing the patriot advance. For the practitioners, we don't discriminate the who doing the practice. The main point right here is to believe in your own Buddha nature. So one of the 10 requirements is we don't discriminate who practicing the practice methods. We need to believe in our own Buddha nature and detach ourselves from everything. The old, the young, the good, the bad, the not intelligent people, when they believe in the Buddha nature, they ask questions and raising doubt, they will get the enlightenment eventually. So if you do the practice, you will get the enlightenment. Our patriarch said that when you have a doubt, you will have enlightenment. The small doubt, small enlightenment. The great doubt, the great enlightenment. And if you don't have a doubt, you don't have the enlightenment. So the doubt, the patriarch explained that to us, it's just a means for us to practice. It's a direct method. Why we say it's a direct method? Because it's going direct into the practice and detach all the objective thinkings in the mind. If we still have what we ask for, what we achieve, what we feared of, which means we still have the attachment. And when we detach ourselves from those, which means we go on the right path. So the 9 words, nothing to ask for, nothing to achieve, or nothing to fear of. It's not only for you to memorize, but for you to apply it in your practice. When you practice correctly, which means you are practicing these 9 words. When you detect or thinking in the mind, which means you believe in your own Buddha nature. And when you believe in your own Buddha nature, you need to detach yourself from all the thinkings. For some people, they said that they believe in their own Buddha nature, but they still attach themselves to what they achieve, attach themselves to what they ask for. So that's why one of the requirements in the 10 requirement is to believe in your own Buddha nature. The 10th requirement is you don't show off your practice to others, but you must rely to those experienced ones, to your Dharma friends, and practice. And they, our Dharma friends, our masters, will help us to go on the right path. The Buddha always told us to believe in our Buddha nature. Don't believe in the Buddha words, but you need to try and practice. And if you realize that the practice helping you to detach yourself from everything, which means you are on the right path. That's why we need to practice. We don't try to predict or try to get our subjective mind in this practice. We need to rely ourselves on the three jewels of Buddhism and use that reminder as a motivation to practice. This is why it doesn't matter if it's a male or female, rich or poor, or any person at all, we can still practice. And when we practice, you are following the Buddha words. So the ultimate goal is the Buddha nature. And that goal is also a means for us to practice, to detach ourselves from everything that's going on during the practice. When you said that you have the Buddha nature, you don't attach yourself to anything, the good or the bad. No matter what's going on, we're still going back to our practice. And when we practice, we follow the means from the Buddha and the patriots, and we going on a right path toward our goal. And if we don't practice, which means we are not going on the right path. And those are the reminders for everybody to practice, go back to the practice. It's easy to say it, but it's not easy to practice it. So if we don't practice, and if we don't have anything to ask for, don't have anything to achieve, nothing to fear of, everything becomes easy. So if anyone having questions or want to share your own experience, go ahead and speak up. Pháp Tuệ, go ahead. Can you hear me? Yes. I'd like to ask about my experience in the last few days. I'm not really clear about my direction in practice. Usually in a monastery, I always follow you, your instructions, and the monastery having the place to practice. We have the schedule to practice, and when we have times, we go into the practice. And recently, we have a construction in our monastery. In the first few days, I have work, and I just continue to practice during my work. However, I feel like my practice during the work is not really clear. But now when there's a constructions, the construction is going on, I don't have a place to practice. Sometimes I practice outside. I practice in the kitchen, and I feel like my practice is not very clear. I feel like I'm showing off my practice for others to see, but in my mind, when I make a vow to practice in a monastery, I feel like I'm not really clear in my practice. Uh, what go, whatever going on right now, I feel like I'm losing my original vow. So in the first few days, I don't have the schedule as usual because of constructions. I do my work and I sit down and do my practice. When we have the place to practice in a monastery, I feel like the motivation is always there. But now I feel like my practice is not very clear. And when I don't feel the practice with other people, everybody they're in their own place to practice, and I practice in the kitchen and outside. It just I feel like I'm showing up my practice to others, and those constructors, they came and go. At first, they greeted me, but after that, they don't greet me anymore. And I feel a little bit frustrated. Uh, could you give me some words of encouragement? I feel like when you are not here, when we don't have any Dharma friends working together and practicing together, I feel like I'm losing my motivation. I feel like lonely in my practice. Could you give me some words of encouragement so I can practice better? This is again in the situation from outside and inside changing, and our mind still attached to the changing in situations. That's why our mind still have a little interference here. But the good thing here is you're still thinking of the practicing. It's just like we always have a place to practice, and we always have other people to help us to practice. However, certainly our monastery now is in constructions, and we feel like we don't have a schedule. We don't have any bells to help us to remind us to go back to the practice as a schedule. We have the responsibility to watch constructions and continue to practice, and that's interfere with our practice. When we don't have a convenience as usual, we stay in our room to practice. We don't know if we're practicing, and if we outside, we feel like we showing up our practice to other people, and the situations going on like that, our mind has a little bit of attachment to the situation. If you are doing the right practice, anything going on outside, any criticism to you, you still go back to your practice. When you have a responsible to do anything, you still do it. However, when you're done with your responsibility, then go back to the practice. When we need to go somewhere else, when we get used to this, any situation going on, any circumstances from outside, any conditions going on, we still not attaching ourselves to those, but we go back to our practice. When we have the responsibility to do anything, we do it. But when we're done, we just go back to the practice. We don't rely on other criticism. They can tell us anything. We don't attach ourselves to their words. We don't attach ourselves to the circumstances or situation from outside. We use them as either for us to practice, the motivation for us to practice. So the convenience in the normal monastery is very good for us to practice. But when we go out of the monastery and we still having the practice, that is the good thing. Even though we still have that frustration that we doing a practice or not a clear practice, however, we still thinking about a practice. If anyone tell us that we showing up our practice, we just use that to go back to our practice. It doesn't matter anything going on, the cold weather, anything going outside, just go back to the asking questions and raising doubts. Ask truly and continuously. Ask normally. Don't try, but ask normally. Don't think that you are practicing. Just ask questions and raising doubt. Do it normally, like you doing your normal job at home. And when you look at your practice and think about your practice, no matter any changing outside, the situations outside, and you're still thinking about your practice, then continue to do so. When we're done with everything, we go back to the old schedule. Is that understandable? Yes, thank you. I have another questions. I share my experience earlier. Someone said that our Buddha nature is like electricity, and that electricity need a consciousness in order to practice, to apply this electricity to the light or any devices, electrical devices. When we have this emptiness, we can apply everything in that emptiness. But if this word, no emptiness or the places or spaces, then we won't be able to apply anything at all. So I kind of don't understand this. What does it mean when you said that our mind is just the emptiness, the space in this universe, and that space is necessary to apply everything in this world. So could you give me some words of encouragement on this. Okay, so this also the knowledge or the mix of knowledge and practice that can confuse others and mistaken that is the knowledge from the Buddha or the meanings of the Buddha. So when a person said that our mind is just like electric cities and like a emptiness in the universe, those are just the knowledge or the understanding. When we have the electricities, we can run any electrical device. When we have the space, we can apply everything in that space. Those are just the explanations from the Buddha for the beginner practitioner to believe in their Buddha nature and start to practice. Our mind or our consciousness have no forms to explain, no words to explain, but now we're using the means of words to explain about our consciousness, our mind. And those are just the means. It's just like an example from Master Ziluk. You haven't met a person, one person, when you hear the explanations about that person, when you meet them, you still don't know that you meet the person that explained. But when we have somebody to introduce us, we see that man, and we meet him anywhere, we still realize that is Mr. Trump. So all those explanations, the electricities, those are just the forms, the application of the mind, but the mind has no forms that we can explain. So if we attach ourselves to that explanations without practicing, then that is not the right way of practice. So the second thing is when Long Thọ Bodhisattva talk about the mind is just the emptiness in this universe, and there's nothing in that we can attach to. Just like the house have the emptiness that allow us to live inside. The cup has emptiness that allow us to contain water or any drinking and the table has the space or the emptiness that we can put something on it. Those are just application forms of the mind, and those are not that's something that we can attach to, because the mind has no attachment at all for others to attach to. It's formless, so we cannot attach ourselves to the formless. The emptiness is the same no matter now or 1,000 years later, it's still the emptiness. There's nothing changed in the emptiness. Our seeing, our knowing are changing with this mind. it depends on the different realms. They will see this world differently. It's just like the devil. They saw the sun as the hell, or blood. But for people, they see the sun as a source of energy for us to live on. So different realms will have different explanations about what they see. So the word, the explanation for the mind as the empty of the universe or space in the universe, any things that use to explain, they are just the applications of this mind. If we don't attach ourselves to these five aggregates of this body, then everything will be clear. Our hands, if we have a short hand, we use our hand in a short distance. If our hands are long, we use our hands in a long distance. So all the applications are from the Buddha nature. But when those explanations or examples are only to help us to believe in our own Buddha nature, and that's for us to practice, not to understand, not for us to attach to. When we attach to those words of the Buddha patriarchs, we make the Buddha words, the patriarch words, as our words, then we already attach ourselves to those words. This is why the Buddha, the patriarch, said that we don't attach ourselves to words, even that's the words from the Buddha. That's why the sixth patriarch said that I'm telling you this only to encourage you to practice. If you attach to the words, which means you're going on the wrong path. It's just like the fingers pointing to the moon. If you looking at the fingers, you won't see the moon. The fingers is only the means for us to see the moons. This is why the Buddha said that 49 years of Dharma talk is just like the dirt in the fingernails. The knowledge, the vast knowledge, cannot be explained by words. So all the example from the Buddha, from the patriarchs, is only for us to believe more in our Buddha nature and go back to our practice until I see our own Buddha nature. Is that understandable? Yes. There's the understanding when we have this emptiness without the consciousness, this emptiness won't be used or applied at all. Can you give me some encouragement on this? When we say that the consciousness, the mind, is emptiness, the emptiness is the mind, then it's better than to say that we have two things, the mind and the empty. Those are two. When we say that the mind is like the emptiness in the universe, there's no attachment to that universe. when we say that the mind is so vast, which means we already limit our mind. When we have two, just like this mind and the space in the universe, that are two already. When we create the two, which means we are attaching to the applications of this mind already. When Long Thọ Bodhisattva said that this mind is just like the vast universe in this is only the explanation. We don't attach ourselves to those. When you attach yourself to those words, which means you have two. You have the universe, space right there, and your mind is a separate thing. But when you don't attach yourself to those, which means they are the same. That is why the sixth patriarch said that it the means for us to practice. However, if we are, it becomes a wrong path to go on. It's just like a poem from Tu. Give us an example that this mind, just like a Bodhi tree, it's just like a mirror with dust on it. We need to clean our dust on the mirror in order to see ourselves, our reflection on the mirror better. It's a good poem, however, because there's still attachment to this mind as a Bodhi trees, which are two. And when the six patriarchs, Chinese, the six patriarchs said that when we still have the attachments to two, the mind right there and the Bodhi trees right there, then that's still true. That's why the sixth patriarch give us another poem. This mind is not the Buddha trees, and the Bodhi trees also have no roots, and the mirror is just a mirror. Mirror has nothing to do with the dust on it. It always has the reflection like that, even though the dust on it. So there's nothing for us to attach to in the poems of the six patriarchs. It's the same when Ananda asked the Buddha about the sixth area to find the mind. The Buddha always destroy all of his confirmations of the mind at one place. The mind is in everywhere, but he tried to attach his knowledge to the mind as one place. That's why the Buddha tried to correct his wrong views about the mind at one place or located as one place. This is why the Buddha criticized Anand always pay attention to the understanding or the knowledge without practicing. This is why the Buddha, after the Buddha passed away, Anand came back to the practice and he achieved the arahats, enlightenments, after he practicing. So based on that, if we still attach ourselves to words, attach ourselves to the explanations, the understanding, we still have the attachment. Be careful. If we still attach ourselves to those words of explanations without practicing, we will contaminate our practice already, and we might confuse other people in studying of the right Dharma. So now, if you realize your own mistake, you need to fix your own mistake by going back to your practice. For those people who just attach themselves to words and they're not practicing, let them be. If they don't understand the value of practice, then we just going back to our practice if we can advise them. So this is why the third patriarch said that the ultimate goal is not hard to achieve. However, just because of we put in our own intention, our own explanations, our own opinions, that's why it's difficult to practice. This is why if we attach ourselves to these words of explanations, they will lead us to go on the wrong path and we won't be able to go back. Is that understandable? Yes, thank you for your words.